This is Sam Bankman-Fried. Sam Bankman-Fried was the CEO of FTX, which was the largest crypto exchange in the world. This guy had a net worth of $26 billion, yet in the course of just a few days, he managed to lose his entire net worth and the vast majority of money he held through his clients. Now, you probably never heard of this guy until a few weeks ago. That's because with the help of his opposition, this guy managed to throw the cryptocurrency space into a downward spiral. This guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, was affiliated with Jeff Bezos, Steph Curry, Tom Brady, and a slew of other high-profile rich folks. The dude had investments from really big players in the industry like BlackRock and SoftBank. And if you don't know who these guys are, let me give you a little bit of context. BlackRock Incorporated is an American multinational investment company based in New York City. BlackRock's market cap is around $123.914 billion. SoftBank Group is a Japanese multinational conglomerate holding company headquartered in Minato, Tokyo, which focuses on investment management. SoftBank Group's market cap is around $77.95 billion. Now that's billion with a B, son. Billion. But the truth about Sam Bankman-Fried's whole operation is his whole group were just a bunch of young crypto bros who were romantically involved and living in the Bahamas. Sam Bankman-Fried dated this chick named Caroline Ellison, and she would work for Sam in more ways than one. Sam Bankman-Fried is an American entrepreneur, and he is the investor, CEO, and founder of the cryptocurrency exchange FTX that's at the center of this disaster. During Sam's come up, this dude discovered a loophole where you could buy Bitcoin for cheaper in America and sell it for a higher return in Japan. In 2017, he would use the money he accrued from these risky trades and start his own company, Alameda Research. Now, Alameda Research was made up of mostly Sam's college friends from MIT, among other employees. And the funny thing is, you kind of see parallels between Sam and Elon Musk, because this guy Sam became rich and he would promote himself as the resourceful billionaire. Sound familiar? The more I research this guy, the more parallels I see between him and our boy Musk over here. Our boy Sam Bankman-Fried owned a $30 million mansion in the Bahamas where he would engage in a lot of his shady business ventures. Around 2016 or 2017, Sam met Caroline Ellison. Caroline and Sam would start dating, and at some point, Sam offered her a position at his new company, Alameda Research. This was the precursor to a girl with little to no experience becoming the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar operation. Like, this girl was wild. She was not only kind of loose-lipped, but she would openly praise amphetamines on social media. Despite all that, in 2019, Sam would go on to start his next business endeavor. He would go on to create FTX. FTX was a cryptocurrency derivatives exchange. Little did Sam know, in just a few short years, FTX would lead to bankruptcy proceedings in the US court system following a liquidity crisis. So if you don't know what an exchange is basically a place where you store and exchange different forms of cryptocurrencies for a small percentage of your trade. FTX also offers users a discount if they store their money in a token called FTT. Now, what is FTT, you may ask? Well, FTT is the exchange token of the FTX ecosystem, and it would serve as collateral for a lot of Sam's future business endeavors. The FTT token was also the token that would lead to the current disaster because it was essentially just a token that Sam Bankman-Fried made up. Sam Bankman-Fried's company, Alameda Research, was basically a hedge fund. Alameda Research carried out trades, matched buyers and sellers, and would give investors a piece of the action as long as they had a little bit of skin in the game. Now, to get you to sign on to what was basically a Ponzi scheme, they offered a 15% annualized return on investment with no downsides. Sound too good to be true? Well, it fucking is. These guys were basically using customer money as loans for trading without the knowledge of the consumer, which is massively illegal. Alameda Research was getting billions of dollars from FTX, which on its own was ran by Sam Bankman-Fried, and they're using that money to make trades on the Alameda Research trading house without the consent of the consumer, which is a violation of FTX's own guidelines. And to make matters a little bit worse, Sam Bankman-Fried's girl would do these crazy interviews where she would go online and talk about her lack of a math degree and her use of a lot of elementary school math, as well as massive trades where she lost big. And let me tell you something, it wasn't her money she was losing.
It off without my math degree. Use very little math. Use a lot of elementary school math. Being comfortable with risk is very important. We tend not to have things like stop losses. I think those aren't necessarily a great risk management tool. I'm trying to think of a good example of a trade where I've lost a ton of money. Well, I don't know. I probably don't want to go into specifics too much with that.
And this guy, Sam, was a savage within his own rights. It was stated that he was on a $210 million investment call while playing League of Legends. What a legend. After the call, Sequoia gave Sam $210 million. This $210 million they would never see again. It is reported internally that Sam wanted to take riskier trades than the others wanted to take. Sam ran the shop. Sam made most of the big decisions. We all trusted Sam. We all believed him. In July 2021, it is reported that FTX was averaging a $10 billion a day trade volume. And the disgusting part about all this is, at this point, these guys had a UC Berkeley stadium named after them. These guys had a partnership with the Warriors. These guys had a partnership with Tom Brady. They had a partnership with the NBA. These guys had a partnership with Mercedes. These guys had a partnership with Stephen Curry in particular. And a lot of these people received equity in Sam's company. Little did they know that pretty soon that equity wouldn't be worth a damn. It was even reported that Tom Brady put his $650 million fortune into FTX. If that's true, what a cuck. At this point, FTX had their hand really deep in the cookie jar. They even became involved geopolitically, being part of a world economic firm. They also built up infrastructure to supply funds to Ukraine during the whole Russia and Ukraine debacle that we're still in the middle of. At this stage, Sam really started to become involved in the political ecosphere, donating $5 million to Joe Biden, to sleepy-ass Uncle Joe. And he also donated $50 million to other politicians ahead of the 2022 midterms. There's also people on his team that donated $23 million to the Republican Party to gain favor on that end of the spectrum. On November 16th, 2022, a lot of banks, including central banks, announced that they're starting to test digital US cryptocurrency tokens, and you bet your ass FTX wanted in on all this action. Now, inflation is one of the byproducts of a war. The other side of that is corporations just jacking up the price of items that have absolutely nothing to do with inflation just so they can get in on the action. In the latter half of 2022, the US Federal Reserve lifted interest rates higher. Higher interest rates means loans are more expensive. It means people are spending less money. And one of the markets hit especially hard by this is the cryptocurrency market. At this point, a lot of crypto firms began to go under, but Sam Bankman-Fried became the guy to bail a lot of these guys out. This was actually kind of evil genius on Sam's part because he could eliminate a competitor and buy up the crypto off their books at a massive discount. But behind the scene, Sam and his friends at Alameda Research were accruing huge losses from bad trades. Alameda Research was taking huge losses, so in order to prop up Alameda Research, Sam secretly transferred at least $4 billion in FTX consumer funds, and then he sent out a tweet. This guy sent out a tweet saying he's moving the money around in the company. We do this periodically. There might be a few more coming. It won't have any effect. But a lot of the market analysts were getting suspicious at this point. This guy didn't even tell the other people at FTX about the $4 billion move to prop up Alameda, as he was afraid it could leak. And it was kind of smart on his part. Even this is all kind of evil genius, but unfortunately, his girl Caroline Ellison accidentally said on a call that FTX used consumer funds to prop up Alameda and help Alameda meet its liabilities. This is basically her admitting to a criminal activity on live. So, the weird thing about this move to prop up Alameda is the $4 billion of money given to prop up Alameda was not given in dollar form. It was given in FTT. And if you don't remember, FTT is not real. It's just a made-up token by Sam and his buddies. So if you haven't caught it by now, Sam Bankman-Fried is basically using money that didn't exist to finance a lot of his shady business ventures. On November 2nd, behind the scenes, information about Alameda would finally leak, and it was reported by news outlet Coinbase that stated Alameda Research had $14.6 billion of assets as of June 30th, in accordance with some of the private documents that Coinbase reviewed, but much of it is held in FTT that was issued by FTX. Okay guys, I'm gonna butcher this guy's name, but at this point, we need to talk about Sam's primary opposition, Sam's rival, Sam's op. His name is Xijing Zhao, commonly referred to as CZ. CZ is a Chinese-Canadian business executive and founder of Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange. Now, if Sam Bankman-Fried is Gary from Pokemon, CZ is fucking Ash Ketchum. This is this dude's primary rival, and you'll see why he's Ash Ketchum, because he's still in the game while Sam Bankman-Fried is not. Plus, if you look at these guys side to side, CZ kind of looks more like Ash Ketchum while Sam looks more like Gary. At one point, CZ would send out a tweet, and this one tweet would send Sam's entire empire crashing down. So, 6 months after the launch of FTX, CZ bought 20% of the exchange for $100 million. Sam would later buy back that stock for $2 billion, but the problem is, this sum was paid primarily by FTT, Sam's fake token. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, CZ was getting pissed at Sam because Sam was lobbying for the creation of a brokerage-like licensing system, a decentralized finance. A decentralized finance, or DeFi, uses emerging technology to remove third parties and centralized institutions from financial transactions. Now, I don't really know what exactly that means, but from what I understand, this move would screw over all the other competition in the cryptocurrency space, and it is said that almost all other exchanges, especially Binance, will lose out over this arrangement. So at the time all this is taking place, it was also reported that the head of the SEC, Gary Gensler, as well as Caroline Ellison's dad, both attended MIT as professors. At MIT, Caroline's dad was the former boss of the head of the SEC. A leaked email shows that the SEC was going to give FTX no action relief, which basically means we know you're breaking the law, but we're going to look the other way. And if this is true, this obviously goes all the way to the top, and we could be looking at massive corruption at the very top of the SEC. But things like this are pretty common in the US government. It's like, oh, the US government is doing corrupt, shady business dealings. Well, hey, what else is new? So FTX would continue on their current course of action with this move that would screw over all other competitors in the cryptocurrency space. When CZ got wind of all this, now remember, CZ had $2 billion in FTT, so if he wanted to absolutely destroy FTX, he could. So that's what he decided to do. On November 6th, CZ would come out with a tweet which reads, as part of Binance's exit from FTX equity last year, Binance received roughly $2.1 billion USD equivalent in cash and FTT. Due to the recent revelations that have come to light, we have decided to liquidate any remaining FTT on our books. So the problem with this move was, since FTT wasn't regularly traded, dumping this amount of FTT on the open market would have a devastating ripple effect. Sam did a counter tweet that stated, a competitor is trying to go after us with false rumors. FTX is fine. Assets are fine. But the damage had already been done. The ripple effect from CZ's tweet was bad. Money started leaking out of FTX, and fast. It is reported by over the course of a few days, many users had rushed to withdraw over $6 billion in tokens from FTX. Over the next 2 days, the FTT token would lose 80% of its value. So the unfortunate byproduct of FTT losing 80% of its value is that by losing that much of its value, Sam didn't even have the money to pay out all the withdrawals. He only had $9 billion in liability and $900 million in liquid assets. That is nowhere near the amount you would need to have all the consumers covered. At some point, Caroline Ellison would go online and try to damage control, and she offered Binance a deal, stating that if you're looking to minimize the impact on your FTT sales, Alameda will happily buy it all from you for 22 a share. But CZ fired back, and he stated that we won't support people who lobby against other industry players behind their back. At some point during this whole debacle, though, Sam would call CZ begging for help, and they made an arrangement for Binance to buy FTX. This was supposed to be a strategic acquisition on Binance's part to consolidate power. But not long after that, CZ would back out of the deal after getting a look at FTX books and determining that FTX was in way deeper than even they thought. FTX had a far bigger gap between assets and liability than even the employees knew about. It was reported that there was an $8 billion shortfall. And to make matters even worse, at the same time all of this is going on, the US Justice Department would go on to launch an investigation into FTX over the $10 billion of consumer FTX funds that were given as loans to Alameda Research without the knowledge of the consumers. So, with just about absolutely nothing left, FTX halted withdrawals, and on November 11th, Sam would go on to resign and announce that FTX and Alameda Research were filing for bankruptcy. This news sent the entire crypto space into a downward spiral. In just 3 days, the 15 largest cryptocurrencies lost over $152 billion in market value. Sam Bankman-Fried would go on to apologize, stating that he fucked up. But at this point, the damage is already done. Not only was there over $1 billion of consumer funds just straight up missing, but the cherry on top is the days after FTX claims it was hacked as $600 million and crypto mysteriously drained overnight. A lot of companies had their stake in FTX, and FTX stated that their stake is now worth nothing. So they had to write it off their books. There is even a teacher's retirement fund in Ontario that apparently invested $95 million into FTX. And that's really sad, guys. That's really sad when you're messing with working class people. You know, teachers are some of the hardest workers and some of the most underappreciated people in the community. So that's really sad for $95 million from a teacher's retirement fund to just go missing. It's just now gone. That sucks, man. At this point, Sam Bankman-Fried has lost all of his wealth to the point where he has a negative net worth because he has more debt than equity in all of his companies and investments. Sam is currently under police investigation in the Bahamas. But the funny thing is, even after committing all these crimes, even after losing everybody's money, this guy, Sam, is not rotting in some jail cell. This guy, as far as I know, is still in his mansion in the Bahamas. Because think about it, this guy, Sam, played the game right. As much as I hate to admit it, he's donated like over $100 million to politicians on both sides of the aisle, Republican and Democrat. So like, if you do lock this guy up, the optics of the whole situation just look really bad.
Fox News alert, Sam Mini Madoff has finally been arrested after he stole over $3 billion from his customers' crypto accounts. The crypto scam artist used the money to fund corporate sex parties, buy drugs, and help the Democratic Party win the Senate. In fact, he was the Democrats' second largest donor these past midterms. The Attorney General of the Bahamas says the United States is likely to request his extradition. And this is coming just as Mini was preparing to testify in front of Congress tomorrow. Oh, what a shame. Right before he was about to testify in front of Maxine Waters, he lost his voice.
Well, damn. Literally, as I was editing this video, it would appear that justice has finally been served because as of a few days ago, Sam Bankman-Fried has been arrested in the Bahamas. It's interesting to see maybe all that money he paid to the Republicans and Democrats was paid in FTT. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Sorry it takes me so long to crank out these videos. I work 7 days a week at the moment. But for now, this is Remo Yes Man signing out. Have a beautiful day, guys.